This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week. This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
The trial of Ashley Benefield, it has come to a close with a manslaughter verdict. The jury had the option of second-degree murder, but they found her guilty on a lesser charge of manslaughter. It carries up to 30 years in prison. Joining me to discuss, Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI Special Agent. Since we last talked, Ashley had a chance to let her words out in court, and we all got to see that very dramatic testimony. Since then, let me ask you, has it solidified your opinion on her guilt or innocence from prior to hearing her speak?
Yes, Tony, it really did. I just found her testimony to be very disingenuous. It seemed very much like acting when she got up, and all the flailing that she was doing. It just didn't come off as very believable. And I quite honestly think that this was a huge part of why the jury was swayed to go with a manslaughter charge and find her guilty.
It's interesting because I've talked to a lot of people, excuse me, and I'm finding that there's people who were very moved by her testimony, to the point of tears when it was happening. And then there's others who look at this and went, yeah, something feels a bit off here on this. and notably in the courtroom, and this was brought up obviously by the prosecution, the lack of tears. A lot of flailing, lots of moving around, but no tears. Tell me about that and what your experience is when somebody's trying to project their feelings of guilt or sadness or trauma, and there's no tears. Are tears always required for it to be authentic?
For me, I would say 99% of the time, yes. 99.9, let's make it that. Tears come out even without emotional crying. They're just a reaction of the body, and they're very authentic. And you didn't see that with her, and you really can't manufacture tears. There's some sort of emotional response that just happened. In most cases, I'm not saying that there aren't some instances maybe where people have issues with their ducts or something and can't cry. But no, that was a big reason why. And it's something we really look for when we interview. You know, as an FBI agent, when you're sitting across from me, I'm looking for your reaction. And if it's something you should be upset about, and I don't see any tears, it makes me gives me pause as to whether you're being honest.
What's disturbing about that whole idea of tears is the fact that one could shed not one tear, whether you did this on purpose or not, whether it was just in the heat of the moment. I felt like I had to do this. And maybe you look back on it and go, maybe that was kind of a brash decision. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it is what I did. And that's kind of the whole battered woman syndrome that was trying to be argued here. But one would almost think that you would have some level of empathy for what happened. This is, the father of your children that you shot, whether it was, over the top or not. You think there'd be something, wouldn't you?
That's how I always look at it. It never makes any sense to me in these relationships where people have that much hate that they totally disengage from the fact that at one point they actually loved that person and that person, they decided to have a child with, and no matter what, that child that they have is half of another person. And so I agree with you, Tony. It's really sad when you see that people lose absolutely or have absolutely no empathy for the lost one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a certain level of numbness, but it also kind of makes you go, maybe that's why you were capable of doing such a thing. Let's take a look at some of that testimony from Ashley. And I want us to note while we're looking at this, the back and forth of how quickly she goes from hi, I'm upset, but no tears, to just, oh yeah, that's how that all rolled out. It's a very, very stark contrast here. And if anyone who has kids, this is another thing I noted, especially if you have or have had a little girl. I know you have girls. I have a little girl. if they want something, they can turn this shit on and off sometimes. And this is kind of how I felt watching this testimony. Let's take a look.
You weren't concerned about him coming over?
No, I knew he was coming.
Okay. And when he came over, your mother and Emerson went to the park?
I believe they were headed there. I'm not sure. I think they were down the driveway or on the sidewalk, something like that. They were on their way there.
You weren't so afraid that you wanted your mother to stay there and watch?
No, we were just packing to move.
Okay, so you weren't afraid?
I definitely didn't expect this to happen.
So it was of you that your mother left?
Yeah, at that time.
Okay. So if I heard you right during your direct, you said he bumped your shoulder twice. Body check, I don't know if that's what you called it. He walked into you with a box, right?
Yes.
And then at the end, you say he slapped you?
He hit me. I wouldn't know how to classify it. He struck me, he hit me.
Was his hand open or closed?
I don't remember.
Okay. And because of those things, you claim that you thought he was going to kill you.
He had never hit me before.
Okay. And you thought he was going to kill you.
He wouldn't let me leave. I tried to leave, he stopped me.
The question is, you thought he was going to kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you were in the bedroom, you decided to get your firearm. And it was where?
It was in a storage bin on top of the laundry basket.
Okay. So I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 52. If you could turn around and look at that. Where was your firearm?
It was in the bin on top of the basket.
Here?
That's the basket. The laundry
Where was the
basket.
bin?
It's that right on top.
Okay. So it was in here.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would you have a firearm in there?
I had just emptied all the furniture and everything out of my room, and it was kind of like what was left from my drawers, and so it got put into a bin.
Okay. And that was not your only firearm in that room, correct?
Correct.
You had a firearm in the closet.
My carry gun was in my backpack, which was my purse at the time.
So in this room, with a mattress and a broom and a hamper, you had 2 firearms.
Yes.
So you go into the room and you grab your firearm. Is it in a holster?
I don't remember.
Okay. And you claim that Doug does what?
He came and slammed the door open. He was standing in the doorway. He said, "You're fucking done."
He said, "You're fucking done." And that made you fear for your life.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be one to, downplay, someone who's been a victim of abuse of any sort. But I'm also going to raise my hand when I see something that doesn't feel right. And I'm sorry, that just doesn't feel real. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with you. The way, I don't know, there was one very specific moment where she was kind of still sort of sobbing and kind of, and then a question is asked. She had to think about it, and then she went to her normal tone. I don't know if you noticed that, and then kind of digressed back to the. So that's just, I just didn't find her believable. It seemed very much like acting to me. Yeah. And I was thinking too, with a child in the house. Of course, I'm immediately going to the complete lack of gun safety.
Yes.
Locked and loaded 45 plus another gun, and nothing else in the house, as she said, on a laundry basket. It just, the whole scenario just didn't sound right.
Are you ready to listen to this podcast ad-free?
Then hit subscribe to the True Crime Today Premium Plus channel now on Apple Podcasts.
You'll instantly have access to all of our episodes labeled Advance Ad-Free. You'll hear the interviews before everyone else and with no interruptions.
No interruptions.
Subscribe to the True Crime Today Premium Plus channel now on Apple Podcasts.
And start binging now.